Tonight, doctors challenge Saskatchewan's ministers responsible for healthcare and demand changes amid grueling shortages. And a review is underway after Saskatoon police fatally shoot an armed suspect. Plus, spooky for all seasons, we visit 2 stores that embrace Halloween vibes year-round.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Friday, October 28th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Elected officials in charge of health in Saskatchewan faced tough questions today, only it wasn't us journalists quizzing the ministers for once, it was doctors. Alexander Kwan has more.
I am not ashamed to admit that it takes $33,000 a month for me to operate my clinic. I get $39 per patient visit. These do not add up.
As complaints continue about shortages in Saskatchewan's medical sector, doctors put officials in charge of the province's health policy in the hot seat. It took place at the Saskatchewan Medical Association's annual assembly, held in person instead of virtually for the first time in 3 years.
I think it's always better to have the opportunity to discuss these critical issues in person rather than by telephone or WebEx.
Doctors demanded answers from the province on how it was working to create a more stable medical system. Many wanted to know how the government was planning to alleviate doctor and healthcare worker shortages.
As you probably heard earlier today, there are significant challenges across the country. It's not just a Saskatchewan problem. We need to revitalize and frankly transform how we approach family medicine and primary care.
Health Minister Paul Merriman pointed to a plan unveiled last month to recruit and retain professionals in the healthcare sector. It aims to bring in nearly 1,000 workers, especially doctors.
I don't have a specific number. I guess I would put it this way. If there's a doctor out there that wants to be in Saskatchewan, we'll hire you.
Critics say that plan won't address immediate issues or fill enough job openings. We wanted to ask Everett Hindley, the Minister of Rural Health, about staffing challenges in Saskatchewan. But despite our request, he left the building as other interviews were still going on. Friday's conversations did not produce immediate solutions to the issues that doctors were raising. Still, many of them said it felt great to bring those issues they're dealing with to the minister's attention. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
More relief for people facing homelessness in Saskatoon is on its way. The Saskatoon Tribal Council is relocating and expanding its emergency wellness center. Currently, the center is located downtown. The new building will be in southwest Saskatoon. The provincial government will own it and lease it to the STC. Existing clients will make the move, and the new shelter will have 31 spaces dedicated for previous clients of Lighthouse Supported Living. The organization has been in disarray since its former head was caught using shelter funds for personal loans. The STC shelter will offer cultural, health, and addiction support.
People are saying, well, this facility, it's going to have people with addictions. Yeah, there's people with addictions there. It's real. But there's also people that don't have homes. Cost of food is going up. Cost of rent is going up. People are moving from communities coming to the city that can't get a house. They have nowhere to go. We had an infant there as young as 3 months old. This is serious stuff in our city, and people have to start recognizing that this is a community issue.
The Tribal Council hopes to have the new building open in mid-November if all permits are approved. It will be able to house 106 people. Now to the west end of Saskatoon, where a man is dead after a police shooting yesterday. It happened just before supper time on Avenue E North. Police say officers went to the house after getting reports that shots had been fired. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
We don't know exactly where it started, but this is where it ended, with the police rescue truck parked on a west side lawn. Police converged on this house just before supper yesterday. According to neighbors, an armed man had forced his way in. People living there didn't know him. Officers confronted the man and then shot and killed him. Now, it wasn't just neighbors who were alarmed by heavily armed officers running through their yards. The house is across the street from this elementary school, and it was holding parent-teacher interviews last night. And there were kids in this playground. Now, the school went into lockdown, and the kids were taken to safety. Police are still piecing together what happened. They said in a news release that a standoff earlier in the day on Avenue Q is linked to this shooting. They aren't saying exactly how. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Late this afternoon, Saskatoon's police chief issued a statement on the shooting. Troy Cooper says the Guns and Gangs unit was trying to arrest a 36-year-old man who was wanted by La Loche RCMP. He was armed, and when he confronted officers, police shot him. An independent investigation into the shooting is now underway. The family and friends of another person who died tragically in Saskatoon recently are also trying to figure out exactly what happened. An 18-year-old was found dead in his car outside of a gym in early October. But as Pratoush Dayal reports, it's what happened after his death that is causing concern.
Syed Shahraz Ahmed's glasses, personal belongings and gaming system are exactly as they were before he went to work out on October 6th.
And we didn't touch anything. His bed.
Ahmed's parents haven't moved anything since the boy was found unresponsive in his car by Confederation Drive later that evening. The Saskatoon Police Service recently showed the family photos of a suspect who may have stolen the son's debit and credit cards to buy $200 worth of gift cards at a gas station. This happened after his death.
She wear a mask, and the police said she is approximate like as a 35 years plus. A person, yeah.
The coroner service also showed the family a surveillance video from the area, but after 4 hours of watching, they were no closer to finding any answers.
Our concerns are still there because if we still not figured out anything due to the camera is rotating all around. Whenever we want to see the like as the exact thing, the camera is not still on the same point.
The family says the police took 2 weeks to collect Ahmed's wallet, bottle and car for forensic evaluation, and that should have happened sooner. They believe the death is suspicious and say the teen had no health issues in past 6 years.
But when we see other things attached to it, like transactions, rejected calls,
Missing cards.
Missing cards. It's hard to digest it. It is the only natural death.
His high school friends at University of Saskatchewan agree, including one who saw Ahmed that night.
I talked to him briefly, and that's all that happened. He told me he was going to be doing another exercise and I might see him there. And afterwards, I finished my workout and I left. I never caught up with him. And that was my last conversation with him.
And it's just like he's too young from a natural cause. It's just way too young. So it is a little suspicious.
The family says the gym told Ahmed's mother that he was inside around 9 o'clock, but a surveillance camera shows him leaving earlier.
They are responsible or accountable for that thing also. Maybe if we tell her a truth, like he is not inside, so there was chances she checked inside a car, or maybe he can survive.
Shiraz would have turned 19 on Saturday and had dreamt of becoming an engineer. The family says initial tests showed no signs of alcohol, caffeine, pre-workout powder or poison, nor did it show any signs of physical trauma. They are at a loss and hope anyone with further information will come forward. But for now, they wait for more clues from an in-depth pathology report from the coroner service. But those results could take up to 6 months. Pratoush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The inquiry into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act heard from a key witness today. Peter Slowly was the Ottawa police chief when the convoy rolled onto Parliament Hill last winter. Ottawa police came under harsh criticism from the get-go. Slowly was asked what that was like for members of the force.
The level of disinformation and misinformation was off the charts. It was crushing to the members' morale. It was crushing to the incident command team's morale. It was crushing to my executive team's morale. I suspect it was crushing to the board. It was crushing to everybody. It was unrelenting. It was 24 hours a day. And I think by the end of the weekend, it had become a global story.
A lot of the criticism Slowly faced, including from witnesses at the inquiry, was that Ottawa police were unprepared. But he said that even in hindsight, he doesn't think early intelligence reports suggested protesters would stick around so long. He said that assessment changed quickly. On day 4 of the protest, an army officer told him the convoy had, quote, elements of an insurgency. Don't let its calm exterior fool you. Something spooky lurks within Government House in Regina. Families are invited to trick-or-treat from room to room on Sunday afternoon and learn about the ghosts that might haunt this 130-year-old building. You can wear costumes and take in a magic show. Stay with us. Ethan will be back with the weekend forecast after the break. Restaurants in Canada are desperate for workers. The industry is reportedly looking for 170,000 hosts, servers, and cooks. That's more than double the number of vacancies that existed before the pandemic. Some owners are going to new lengths to hire workers and convince them to stick around. CBC's Paula Duhacek explains.
24-year-old Maddie Vine has prepared dishes at many different restaurants. What most had in common, a lack of health benefits.
I didn't even bother trying to get medication for a long time because I knew that it was going to be really expensive.
Her current restaurant is changing things up. It introduced a benefit plan this summer.
I've always wanted it when I was serving, so I felt like when given the opportunity to do it, I would pay it back to my staff.
Sure, it's a helping hand, but in a sector scrambling for workers, it's also a business decision.
They're having to close, reduce their hours because they can't find staff. They're closing, period, because they can't find staff. So this existential crisis now of a shortage in labor is forcing employers to be more competitive, to offer better packages.
That's the strategy at one of Calgary's largest restaurant groups, for the first time providing health and dental benefits to all full-time staff.
We hope that it will set us apart from other companies.
It's happening in other parts of the country too.
It means people are happy and they don't have to worry about things that they shouldn't have to worry about, like going to the dentist or going to physiotherapy when they've injured themselves.
Restaurants Canada doesn't track how many restaurants offer benefits, though anecdotally it says the number is growing. Some businesses say they'll absorb those costs, but many customers are bound to pay more.
It's reflected in our price points.
But these owners think change needs to happen.
I feel like if people make this their career, then let's treat it like it's their career. Let's offer them what businesses offer.
Maddie Vine agrees.
For like a industry that's all about taking care of other people, it doesn't make sense to not take care of your employees.
She calls it an industry evolution that's overdue. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. 22 model clear out is on now.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. My walk at lunchtime actually felt like fall again. Is autumn back in action, Ethan?
I think a little bit through this weekend, Natasha. Looks like it's going to be beautiful conditions out there. And might I suggest that you get out right now because look, temperatures still well above normal for this time of year in some places of the province, including southeastern Saskatchewan. We got well into the mid-teens today and it's still sitting at 12 in Weyburn. Much cooler as you head toward Regina, Moose Jaw, Swift Current, even up toward Saskatoon now. Temperatures are beginning to drop, but the west central part of the province continued to enjoy a very nice day today. Not a lot of moisture to talk about on radar and satellite, but cloud cover a little bit building in a little bit more than I think we thought yesterday was going to build in, has moved its way in, but that should begin moving out in the overnight hours tonight throughout south and central Saskatchewan. We're looking for a clear sunny day tomorrow in the south. The far north of the province, though, we are watching this low pressure system moving in that is bringing in some rain and snow. Right now, it looks like it's going to be mostly falling in the form of snow, and then that is followed by another low pressure system moving in on Sunday. The rest of the province continuing to enjoy a very nice Sunday, and then on on Monday, that system clears out. We'll be left with some lingering cloud cover in the north. Mostly sunny day in the south part of the province. We are watching a low pressure system that is moving in from Alberta, which will affect us later in the week. All in all, around 5 centimeters, I think, is what we're looking at in terms of precipitation in the far north of the province. And that means that the far north qualifies for a white Halloween. Now, our friends at the National Weather Service in Alaska say that a white Halloween is if you have snowpack at or greater than 2.5 centimeters, or if you get fresh snowfall on the day of Halloween that is more than 1/4 centimeter. So especially for those in the far north, you'll be seeing that snow build in this weekend, and that means that you'll likely be hitting that criteria. Alberta and Saskatchewan are kind of looped in the same category here, so that's why I've included Alberta as well. But much of the province where we have not seen significant snow only sees about a 25 to 50% chance of getting a white Halloween, and I certainly don't think you will. The south of the province, where there is the least amount of chance, though, for a white Halloween, well, in places we could still have snowpack around, especially around Moose Jaw, as we begin to head toward Monday. So you might just qualify for it after all. Wind gusts are also going to be a theme the next few days. We are seeing that low pressure system move in, bringing some strong gusts tomorrow, and then through Sunday, that system picking up in the southwest again and in the northwest part of the province, but not nearly as strong as they're going to get in Alberta. We're seeing a couple of very strong systems there. And then on Monday through the north, we could see gusts close to 40 kilometers an hour once again. For Regina, for our next 7 days, we're going to be above average quite a bit over these next few days. Here again, a beautiful next 3 days, save for a little bit of wind. Tuesday, we start to get cloudy and then cool afterward. In Saskatoon, a very sunny and warm next few days here. And on Monday, we could see some cloud cover build in, but Halloween looking not too bad. Some snow flurries possible. And yes, Natasha, minus temperatures, but we won't focus on that for now. We got a great weekend ahead.
Sounds good, Ethan. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Who needs fetch when you can skateboard? Turtle the bulldog is obsessed with the sport. He hopped on his first skateboard when he was 4 months old and hasn't let go since, quite literally. He carries the skateboard around in his mouth. Turtle has become a fixture of the after-school program put on by the 306 shop in Regina. His owner says the only time he stops is to check on a child who has fallen down. We'll be back after the break. After months of costly litigation, Elon Musk is now the owner of Twitter. He paid $44 billion for the social media platform and started shaking things up right away, firing several top executives. But we still don't know what's in store for users. CBC's Philippe de Montigny has the latest.
The bird is freed. That's Elon Musk's first tweet after his $44 billion takeover of Twitter. The deal closed late Thursday evening, and changes to the social media company were quick to follow. Several top executives were fired, including the CEO, CFO, and head of legal policy. This after reports that Musk plans to axe nearly 3/4 of Twitter's workforce.
Employees are already worried about massive layoffs at the company, and that is a valid concern. Now, where those cuts take place could actually give us a better idea of what Musk intends to do with Twitter.
I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech.
Elon Musk repeatedly promised to put fewer limits on what can be posted on Twitter. He pledged to relax the platform's content moderation policies and bring back some banned users like former U.S. President Donald Trump.
I'm worried about places where there's really high risk of authoritarian movements right now, and re-platforming some of the worst members of society that have those authoritarian voices is devastating.
Twitter's new chief said a content moderation council would be formed and that no account reinstatements or major content decisions would happen before that council convenes. But ultimately, the social network remains a business.
The platforms are not simply there for the purpose of having people talk to one another. They're there for the purpose of making money in other ways. of promoting products, of selling audiences to advertisers, and so on.
More signs of change. Twitter shares stopped trading on the New York Stock Exchange. According to a securities filing, the social media company will be delisted on November 8th, and once it goes private, Twitter will no longer have to disclose its earnings, monthly active users, and other key data. Philippe Damonsigny, CBC News, Toronto.
The husband of Nancy Pelosi, who is the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, is in hospital after he was attacked. Police have identified the suspect as 42-year-old David DePepe. Police say a man attacked Paul Pelosi in his home last night with a hammer. Multiple reports say the intruder shouted, "Where's Nancy?" She was not at home at the time. Nancy Pelosi's office says her husband is expected to be okay. Ethan is back for one last look at the weather. Ethan, how's it looking for the Halloween weekend?
Well, I did promise that it was going to be sunny, Natasha, so I guess I better deliver on that. We are looking for sunny skies tomorrow at 8 a.m. A little cool, just below the freezing mark. Southwest gusts around 25 kilometers an hour. Heading toward the noon hour, gusts are going to pick up again, close to 40 kilometers an hour. Sunny, though, 6 degrees. And in Saskatoon, we are looking for very similar conditions. -1 tomorrow at 8 a.m. Southwest gusts getting close to 30 kilometers an hour. Hitting the noon hour already at 10. Gusts around 40 kilometers an hour. And then for all you trick-or-treaters out there, not bad as we look at Regina's forecast. 8 degrees on Monday at 6 o'clock. Winds should be dying down by this point. And in Saskatoon, a very similar forecast, 7 degrees, mostly clear skies. All treats, no tricks in this forecast, Natasha.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
As Ethan mentioned, Halloween is on Monday, but for a couple of businesses in Regina, it's spooky season all year round. Caravan has masks, costumes, and kitschy collectible items. Jessup's General Store carries original artwork and clothing and witchcraft supplies. We visited the stores to find out more.
My wife and I have both been the fan of kind of skulls and weird items. We've also been collectors of like action figures and different things like that. We carry all range of things, horror, just anything weird, and we also have pop culture kind of items as well, pro wrestling. Most people that come here are very happy that Regina finally has a store like this. You know, we don't hate it when people call us a Halloween store, but I prefer to be called a weird store. The most reaction that I have is that this is the greatest store ever, and I have a lot of repeat customers that come in, and I've met so many awesome people, like just through the store alone, and that just makes me so happy right there. So.
Actually, what got me into magic was a trip to Salem, Massachusetts over October and Halloween a few years ago. I attended a seance there, and the medium relayed a message to me about my recently departed grandma, and I thought that was the coolest, and I just wanted to explore more. Well, it's full of clothing, accessories, artwork that I design and print myself. I also share space with the Broom Closet Witchcraft Supply Shop, so you'll find herbs, incense, candles, all things you can use in spell work or manifesting. Halloween is a special time for witches because it's the new year. It's also called Samhain, so it's the end of harvest, the beginning of winter, kind of a time for new beginnings, and it's a time when the veil between our world and the spirit world is at its thinnest. Billy's one of my favorite things. He's our employee of the month. Billy is a character from Hocus Pocus, and I saw that movie when I was 9 years old, and it was mind-blowing for me. It was one of my first introductions to witches, so pretty special for me. People come in here for magical supplies all year long.
Okay. Well, does it work?
Of course, 100%.
That's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and have a great night.